Welcome back to Code A, guys. Wolf and Torch here.
This is the last day of the round of 16, the second day as well. After this, we will move on to the round of 8. All players from there will be making it to the up and down matches to try to get to Code S, which is what these guys are really fighting for.
And, you know, the Code A is not really about the prize money. There is some prize money. First place, of course, gets to pick the group, and the second place
it's actually changed now. So the first place gets immediately into Code S.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's a lot more important this season than it has been in the past seasons. We realized that maybe Code A wasn't as valuable after you get to the round of 8 in the previous format, so we're trying to improve that for you guys and for the players as well.
Yeah, I really like that because that was actually a big complaint I had because, you know, once you get into the up and down matches, if you're a top player and you feel really comfortable in the up and downs, picking your group isn't that big of a deal. I mean, it's a good deal, but you're like, how motivated am I really about this? Now it's like, oh, I want to get first because there's money there, you know.
So the second still get to pick? Second, so the group formats for the up and down there's actually 3 groups of 5 people now. So 8 drop down from Code S, 7 come up from Code A. It's the top 8 except for the first player. And they will get, I believe it's randomly drawn into those 3 groups. And then it's full league, and then the top 2 from each group make it into Code S.
Okay. So there's no inherent advantage to getting second place. You just want to win.
Well, the closer you get to the first place, the closer you get to Code S. So it's a good tournament right there. Here's the first player for the third set going on here today. It is going to be Happy versus YugiOh. Happy, a Terran player from the IM team, an incredible miracle. He did beat Hyperdub 2-0 in the his first match, which is really, really good.
Yeah, he played quite well in those matches as well.
Yeah, Hyperdub, he played at TBT. He is going to be playing Slayer's YugiOh, who is a Zerg player, so a little bit different matchup going on here. And there is YugiOh, looking a little tired. Probably playing a little too many card games going on.
Dude, the funny thing is, in Korea, I've actually found several Yu-Gi-Oh cards around.
Yeah, I don't know where they come from.
I don't know where they come from either. They're in Korean though. I mean, I can't use them. I was thinking about picking all of them up and then forming a deck eventually, getting back out my old Yu-Gi-Oh style. I used to play actually Yu-Gi-Oh competitively.
I have never seen it played. I'm sorry.
Well, it's actually really simple. I played it in like 6th and 7th grade. I played competitively. There was so many nerds on the internet being like, "Wolf is so lame. He played you." No, I'll admit to you guys, I actually played competitively. I was really good. I mean, like when I look back at it now, I'm like, what does really good at Yu-Gi-Oh actually mean? It means you had good cards because there's not a lot of skill involved. But I won some tournaments. I won some money. So that's how I define being really good.
So Yu-Gi-Oh is also really good at the Starcraft 2, which is the game that we're playing here today. A little bit more exciting and a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, much better game than Yu-Gi-Oh. Sorry, Yu-Gi-Oh fans. Starcraft 2 is a little bit better.
Sorry, those maps did get dropped off your screen. It is going to be Dual Sight first, then we're going to move into Crevasse, and then the last map, if we do need it, is going to be Metalopolis.
Yep. And I think right now Dual Sight's a map that Zergs are kind of struggling against Terrans on, so that's our first map. It's going to be the harder map for Yu-Gi-Oh. Happy probably has the advantage here. We'll see, though, if he can pull something out. I'm sure he's prepared something for this map, though.
There's a lot of different ways to attack the natural of the Zerg player, and then the third and the fourth is really hard to get.
Yeah, it's far away. The map itself doesn't have a lot of bases. You can't really hide a base and get away with it like you can on a map like Terminus or Tall Dream Altar. You just don't have those options.
Well, you can't hide a base, but
that game just couldn't wait. We just jumped right into it. All right, down
here.
Hear
what I had to say.
At the left side of Dual Sight, player on the team, IM. Some might say he's glad or joyful or cheerful.
Or just mildly amused.
Others might say,
I am happy.
I love that. Yeah, mildly amused. That's the name we were using before for him.
It's quite fitting, actually. He's never actually smiling.
Now down here, on the right side, member of the team Slayers likes the card game that is called
Slayers YugiOh.
I love that. You activated his trap card.
Is that what Ham means?
I'm sorry.
He's holding up that one card that said Ham.
Oh, I didn't see what it said. I have no idea.
Sorry about that. Just trying to learn my Hangul.
Yeah.
The Korean language is actually, the language is extremely difficult, but the alphabet is extremely easy.
I actually recommend it to try to learn it. There's someone on Team Liquid who did a blog about learning Hangul. I don't remember his ID, but maybe look that up. Type in Hangul, Hangul on TL. Try to find that because it's very simple. If you practice it and you learn it, you can read every character after you learned it, you know, about 45 minutes to an hour. Once you memorize those characters, if you start trying to use it, you'll learn it very quickly. And then the cool thing is when you read Hangul, if you have Korean friends that live near you or you have Korean shops, a lot of the stuff that's written in Hangul is actually English words just in Hangul. And if you read it, you're like, oh, that just says cookies. I can read that.
Or even like GOMTV.com, the Korean side of the GOMTV.net, you can get a lot of other information on that site if you can read Hangul. And while we say characters, Hangul is actually an alphabet. It's a lot simpler than English, or the Roman alphabet, actually.
There's less characters. That's why, there's no, for example, V character. That's why bonbons and bonbon is a little weird. There's no V. That's why you say...
there's a few sounds that don't exist. But anyway, we do have a drone coming up here for this wall. He's going to try to scout in, but the second supply depot is finished in time. Not going to get any vision going on here. What YugiOh was looking to see is if there were those refineries going up, 1, 2, or 0, can really be a tell of what the Terran player is going to be going for. However, Happy is going to lift off his barracks here and try to get an add-on in a moment.
He's going to make a reactor.
Most likely, yep.
It's going to be reactor Hellions. He wants to lift it up now so he doesn't get caught in a weird spot trying to... Because he can make the reactor now, which will make the wall off. So that no matter when he lifts, otherwise there's no possibility of Lings running by because they'll always have that wall off.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you do have your add-on as part of the wall, it does make it extremely weak to a Baneling bust.
That's true.
We don't see that coming out here for YugiOh today, but it is an option that he can use later on. Do some sort of counterattack, just bring in a few Banelings to be able to take down the add-on or the supply depots, and you can run in a lot of Zerglings to do a lot of damage later in the game.
The reactor itself does not have a lot of hit points. It only has 400, the same as the supply depot. Little aggression here by Happy. So, like you were saying, it can fall. And then if roaches come in, if you lose that reactor in general, it kind of messes up the build. It's completely exposed. And in this build, you only have those Marines down there in the middle. But if some Zerglings that come to attack it right now, it could get pretty bad.
We actually have the Roach Warren being built at the expansion of YugiOh. What this does is it allows him to create a little bit more of a wall at his natural, so he can defend a little bit better against those Speedlings, or those Speed Hellions that are going to be coming in a moment.
Yep. Do you imagine if there were like 4 Zerglings right there, that reactor may have fallen?
Well, I don't know. These Hellions do a lot.
We would have had to repair it at the very least.
Yeah, that's true.
Now the Hellions do come out, the Marines out as well. SCV trying to get a little scouting. He did, I believe, see the Roach Warren. I'll check that. No, he did not actually. Just barely didn't see the Roach Warren.
He did not see the Roach Warren, but the thing is that YugiOh, when he pumped those Zerglings up, he didn't see anything on the top of the ramp. However, the Overlord he does send and gets the scout, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. The Hellions are going to move in here, try to take down some creep tumors, prevent that creep spread from YugiOh. It can really help later on in the game when there's not that creep there for the Zerg player. You have a lot more mobility as the Terran player.
Yep, that's very true.
So as I was saying before, the Zergling was trying to peek up when he was attacking that reactor, just trying to see what tech that Happy was going for. He didn't see it with the Zergling, but he was able to peek in with an Overlord and see that second command center. So he knows that this aggression from the Hellions of Happy is not going to be to try to do a whole lot of damage. Obviously, you're going to try to take out as many drones as you can, but really it's just trying to keep the Zerg in his base long enough that Happy that he can move out and get an expansion.
Exactly. Now, during all of this, Happy started a second factory. You know what that means? It means Blue Flames. He's going to have 2 factories, one pumping out Hellions, the other sometimes pumping out tanks, but for a while pumping out Hellions as well. He's going to use those Blue Flames to control the middle of the map, try to shut down any drones at any expansions that YugiOh might want to put up.
And we do see a lot more play from the mech of the Terran. It is something that when you can get these Hellions moving around the map constantly like Zerglings do, it makes the lack of mobility of the tanks and the Thors actually not that much of a deficit as it was talked about in the early stages of the game.
Yeah, that was actually the most complained about thing. I don't know if you guys remember back at the end of the beta, siege tanks are too strong. Thors, how do you deal with those? When people found out about Magic Box, the siege tank damage was reduced, all of those things. It's so nostalgic thinking back to about a year ago about that stuff.
Oh man, what I would give to go back to those days.
Me too, man.
Win a few GSLs, get a ton of money.
I would have played Terran, that's for sure.
So we do have one Roach coming in here. He is actually a scouting Roach. This is not too common to see, but the thing is, against the massive Hellions, it does stay alive a lot longer than a Speedling. Speedlings can't even make it across the map, but that Roach can just kind of walk along, take a little extra fire, not a big deal. He loves the heat.
He loves the heat?
He loves the heat.
He loves the
turning up the heat.
What are you, a fire bat?
No, that's what the Hellion says. You gotta play more Terran.
I play it Korean only. I don't know what it says in English.
Blue Flame is done. So
I don't know if that Roach loved the heat, man.
He died happy.
He died happy.
I'm sure it smelled good as he was dying. So we do have a medevac picking up 4 Hellions moving in here. He's going to be able to split some of those Hellions into the main and send the other medevac in the back. It's really nice to see this really aggressive Hellion use. You don't really need to get a whole lot to make these Hellions worth it. Just the scouting information you get is great, but he is able to take down a lot of drones as well. and lift up and move away. That's a beautiful drop for Happy. He kept those drones away from mining for a little while in addition to roasting a bunch of them, in addition to getting scouting. It was really, really efficient for him to do.
Yeah, he's not done yet. Here he comes, attacking these drones again.
Oh, not the best, but not the worst either.
God, those drones are so lined up. I thought he was going to kill all of them.
And he is looking to lose this medevac, but he does drop the Hellions to try to get a little bit more kills. He's going to just try to roast some Blings, but not doing the best job of it. Those do go down. It is loss count. It is relatively even. However, the losses of YugiOh are mainly drones, while the losses of Happy are the Hellions that are very expendable, especially when you have a reactor and 3 factories.
This is indeed true. Third base going up for YugiOh. He's just now started that. We do have a Viking scouting around for things like this, also looking for Overlords to hunt. Second Hellion doing that as well. The Spire going to finish up here, of course. He's already prepared for this. He does have an armory. He's researching +1 vehicle weapons. He's going to start producing some Thors here soon as well.
Yeah, those Vikings are really, really good. Just get one of them against the Zerg. What it allows you to do is you can chase down a lot of Overlords, which cost money to the Zerg player, and Larva. But in addition to that, you also prevent the Zerg from having a lot of map control. Zerg,
exactly.
They really need to be pumping drones when they're safe, and they need to be pumping units when they're about to not be safe. So the Zerg really, really needs to have that information, otherwise they're not going to be playing it the most efficient against you, and that can really give you a huge advantage. We do see the original medevac of Happy actually making it out with very low health. He's just going to be able to get it all the way home and repair it to be able to come back in later. The repair feature of the Terran players, or of the Terran race, is really underestimated. And the Viking does go down to those Mutalisks. Didn't do any damage, but it did give him the exact timing of when those Mutalisks are going to be coming, so he is going to be able to get those Thors out and defend against it. However, we do have the Overseer coming. He doesn't have enough energy for Contaminate yet to defend to prevent this Thor from coming out, so he is actually going to send his Mutalisk home.
Yep, and in general, right now, when you see this many Thors at this timing, you can try to be aggressive with your Mutas, but you just can't do a whole lot. But oftentimes you see players switch over to Roaches. Yep. You do see Roach speed being researched right now, but he is still getting that +1 weapons for his Mutas, so I think he's going to use these Roaches to buy himself enough time to secure that third base, get it really up and running. Then he's going to switch back over to Mutas. Speaking of Mutas, tries to take out those Hellions.
Yeah, these Mutas are just poking in like you're saying. They're not going to do a whole lot of damage. One of them goes down, not too crucial at that stage of the game. It's not what YugiOh wants. But the real power of these Mutalisks is just trying to force the tech pattern of Happy. He wants to make sure that those Thors get out instead of a ton of tanks. Kind of like how when and the Overseer does go down here, he gets a little bit extra scouting, not anything serious. But as I was saying, you want to force the Thors to come out because you prevent the tank and Hellion numbers from happening. When you have Thors as a Terran player, it's very, very hard to push out until you have those upgrades and a lot of units to be able to push out and defend at the same time.
That's true.
Roach fighting against a Hellion. Hellion also has a Goat on its side, but I don't think that Goat is helping much in the fight, and he does go down.
I saw that goat earlier, and I looked at it and gave you this look like, is that a goat? And then you just looked at me and you were like, that is a goat. And then it ended up being on screen, so I wanted to talk about it so badly, and it just came on camera. It's a famous goat now.
Yep, and those little goats, they do help with moral support, but they don't actually help in the fight.
I'm gonna call them esports goats.
Yeah, not quite like Panda Bear Guy. Can't kill him. Nope, can't lose the game.
They're esports goats. You can't kill esports. You can't kill the esports goat.
Really nice maneuver here by Happy. He is positioning a siege line so that he can defend both his natural and his third. The wall of buildings that he has at that first choke of his natural is really going to force any sort of Zerglings or Roaches to come in through where those siege tanks are. And these Mutalisks still just flying around, not doing any serious damage, but once again, they are forcing the tech pattern of Happy a little bit.
These Hellions coming in here trying to kill some of these drones, but there are so many units ready to defend. He's losing a few drones, but not a whole lot. Nice defense there by YugiOh.
Yeah,
up those Hellions.
YugiOh did defend against that, so he didn't lose too much. However, it was efficient for Happy to do something like that. It would have been a little bit better if Happy didn't try to fight against that Spine Crawl and that Roach initially. But we do have a medevac actually going down here from these Mutalisks. Another great thing about the Mutalisks is you can spread them across the map when you're not actually doing any sort of damage with them, and you can prevent the drops from the Terran player from happening.
This is very true. Now, the problem right now for Happy is that he did secure that third base. It's very difficult to do. He had to spread his tanks very thin, like you were saying earlier, so he can defend from all angles. His army is very immobile. The map's relatively small. Hold that thought. All of these drones at the gold base will be taken out.
And YugiOh is going to be forced to show that he has these Sons of Mutalisk. Before Happy had only seen those that were the original 5. It's good for a Zerg player just to get those 5 out, get that Spire to be able to defend against later things, but then stop making Mutalisks at that point.
Exactly.
However, YugiOh has decided to make a ton more Mutalisks. We have 8 more in production. He already has 18 on the field. So showing those Mutalisks in because he's forced to defend against that gold is really going to let Happy know exactly how he needs to defend against this.
This is a great style to do against mech play. He's also making a Nidus network. This type of style really works against slow mech play. Whenever the units move out, you can use the Mutas to counterattack. You can also, magic box those Thors. The tanks become very useless then at that point, as well as the Hellions.
But we do have 4 Thors coming out, and he does have +2 weapons about to finish. He's getting +1 armor. The +1 armor is crucial against these Mutalisks because of their bouncing glaive, I think it's
Glaive Worm, yeah.
Glaive Worm, yeah. So the Glaive Worm does decreasing damage the more hits it makes, but when you have armor, it does even less damage.
This is true. Some Hellions going to try to run at the gold base again. Banelings are ready for them, slowing that attack down, giving YugiOh a little bit more time to prepare for this. He's got 3 spines up, got some Zerglings there as well. Hellions have to go home. He's starting to increase his roach count just a little bit here, but again, just using more and more Mutas. He's got 6 more in production. Infestation put on the way. Here come those Hellions.
Yeah, these Hellions doing a great job of making sure that this gold base doesn't mine too much. Meanwhile, he is getting a gold of his own. He's trying to get down a bunch of turrets, but that is a ton of Mutalisks coming down. They are going to be able to take down all these turrets very, very quickly, and this command center is just going to melt instantly to those Glaive Worms.
That's that.
Happy is going to try to move some of his forces across here. He does have a lot of Thors, so if he does get in a straight-up engagement, he does have a pretty big advantage, but YugiOh is maxed at 200 over 200. So when he does lose his army, he is going to have a lot of resources banked up to be able to replenish it very, very quickly.
How many Mutas is that now? That is 30 Mutalisks.
That is a scary number.
And he's got a ton of Lings in the production. He's got Hive on the way, getting pathogen glands for his infestors, +2 melee attacks.
He's got a really nice mix from YugiOh.
He's going to drop maybe some Banelings on top of these Thors as well.
But Happy knowing that he does need to push out very soon before all these upgrades finish. He is moving his main army across to be able to attack the 3rd while being able to send a small little force to take out the 4th at the gold. The fight does start here. The tanks are sieging up. The Mutalisks come in. A lot of them are taking a lot of hits. They're not doing any damage quite yet. He's trying to magic box, but these Thors are doing a ton of damage to them. There are how many Thors in that fight right now?
That is about... There's 3 Thors left.
Oh, this is actually going down very, very quickly. YugiOh doing a great job of keeping those Mutalisks spread so they don't take too much damage. And all these tanks are going to be forced to move home. They take forever to replenish, and this is huge for YugiOh.
Now he's got 5 Thors in production at a time. The problem is he just can't afford all of that on just 3 bases, especially because he's got to be mined out these Mutas, helping clean up these Thors. They do have +2 weapons, so they take these Thors up very quickly. Maybe time to go home with these Mutas, though, as he is losing all of them.
He is losing all the Mutas, but the thing is he forced a lot of Thors in production. He took out a ton of the tanks, and now we have a huge number of Speedlings coming in. These Speedlings are going to be able to do a lot of damage to those Thors, prevent them from running home, and really, really keep the Terran army really small. Let YugiOh continue to mine at that gold base like he's trying to do. He's also getting a 5th base at the right side of the map.
Well, that's what he thinks anyways, but these Lings may shut that down. Oh, I thought you were talking about Happy's base. My bad. Ling's going to shut down his own base.
Well, they are pretty tyrannical. They don't want to let the larva go for drones, so he's going to continue to make Lings. We do have an Overseer morphing. What that Overseer is going to allow YugiOh to do is get in and try to drop down a Nidus Canal. Maybe. Yes, he does. But it is within vision of this turret, so Happy might be able to respond properly to it.
Yep. Yeah, he will be able to stop this turret, or rather Nidus Worm, relatively easily. Here comes a Ling counterattack. There are a lot of Thors and Hellions there as well. Speedlings do have to retreat.
Yeah, that's the thing with Nidus Worms is it takes time to build them, and then once it's finished, it still takes time to get the units out of it. So if it can get scattered early on by the Terran player, the Terran can really stop it quite easily by just pulling a bunch of SCVs.
Exactly. And it looks like more Hellions running around here, trying to catch these Speedlings in a bad spot, hitting Banelings as well. So many units. I don't know. This is, even though YugiOh until this point has had a higher supply, he's just lost a lot of units here and there. And now this mech army is so strong, you may have to go for a base race, and it looks like that's what he's planning on doing.
He might be, but there are Corruptors coming out here, and the Hive is finished, so there are going to be Broodlords coming out very, very soon. The counterattack is going on at the natural of Happy. A lot of Mutalisks, a lot of Zerglings. The Speedlings and Mutas counterattacking. We'll get a shot of it. There it is now.
killing a lot of these siege tanks. Thor doing a ton of damage though to these moves. He's not splitting them up correctly. Oh, the turret's taking them out as well. This is not looking good for YugiOh. His counterattack is being thwarted. Speedling's trying to break through. Hellions cleaning them up. We'll get a shot of it in a second.
Yeah, the counterattack isn't actually able to make it into the main, so he's not going to take down the production or the tech, but he did prevent the mining at that natural, and he does gain map control to be able to bring all of his forces back, beat up with these Broodlords, and really try to stop this mech army right here and now.
The Broodlords trying their best. The Speedlings and Banelings melting to the +1 armor of these Thors. Zerlings and Broodlings attacking these Thors. He's just losing a lot, though.
A lot of these Broodlings are going down. The Thors are taking the Broodlords up, but there's 3 left, and they do finish off all of the mech army of Happy. That's really not a good position for him to be in.
Yeah, I mean, he lost mining at his natural. He's running out of minerals. Did take that bottom right base finally. He's got that gold up. It is a planter. He's got tons of turrets there.
Yeah, but the issue with those turrets is they can't outrange the Broodlords.
Exactly. So getting those crucial Broodlords out was the best thing that could happen to YugiOh. I wasn't sure if he was going to have them up in time. Basically, this game may have been decided by those Broodlords, but here comes some Speedlings.
Yeah, now that Happy knows those Broodlords came out, they actually did come out a little bit early. He wasn't quite prepared yet, but he is starting to get Vikings out of a reactive starport, and he is getting a second starport up. If he can hold on just a little bit longer, he can counter those Broodlords quite easily.
This is true.
But these Broodlords are moving in very, very slowly to that gold base.
Yep, there they go now. At the bottom right, the Broodlords are attacking the base. Vikings are out, though. And it looks like that Broodlord does fall. He moved forward a little too quickly with those Broodlords, a little too preemptively. Now he's losing a lot of these. That's not good. Those are very expensive. It's very hard to replenish those.
Not only are they expensive to replenish, but now that Happy has the counter out, it's going to be hard to get more of them later on and have them do any sort of serious damage. We have a nice mech army for Happy taking out the 5th base of YugiOh. Meanwhile, the Hellions are continuing to keep that gold from mining any sort of serious amount.
He's just continuing to pressure over here at the natural.
We do have a lot of air units coming out for YugiOh. He's going to try to diminish the Viking numbers from Happy. If he can keep those down low, he can go back to building Broodlords.
The problem is with Thors and Vikings against Mutas, if you try to magic box the Thor all the way on the way there, the Vikings are doing damage to your Mutas, and then eventually you get taken out. He's trying to break up here into the natural, wants to kill those depots, but unfortunately there's too much. Vikings taking out these Corruptors very quickly, but he does have +2 weapons on those Mutas as well as the Corruptors. Oh no, these drones in a bad spot. The Zerlings barely saved them.
Lucky. Barely survived there. So there are a lot of Vikings here. They do meet up with the Thors. The Thors have the long range and are able to zone out the other air units, while the Vikings are the ones that really do the DPS.
Right now, supply-wise, Happy at 135 to 107 of YugiOh. He keeps shutting down those bases. YugiOh just does not have the resources to keep making them. Happy has 1,000 minerals in the bank, and YugiOh just kind of struggling to make hatcheries, because if he makes a few less units just to make the hatchery, he'll end up dying.
Yeah, we did have a really nice counterattack coming here from YugiOh. He's sending those Zerglings to try to keep the 3rd base of Happy down. He's making sure that the 2nd isn't mining. So Happy's really only on 1 base, but YugiOh is on the same, and Happy is moving into the gold base to completely wipe it out. There's a really strong mech force from the Terran player.
Yeah, a lot of these drones being taken out. He doesn't end up chasing them, just decides to target down the hatchery instead. This counterattack has stopped mining, but the orbital lives. That's very important.
This is really interesting. Both players had a huge economic boom, but now we're actually dropping down to YugiOh only mining at 20 minerals per minute right now. He has no serious mining bases.
That's all purely long distance mining as well, exactly.
Yeah. It looked very bleak for Happy for a little while, but he did defend his main, which is the critical amount, because he did still have the production. He was able to get those Vikings out and counter the Broodlords. And now that
of course, he can move his orbitals around, so that's what he's doing. And here's one Broodlord doing a lot of damage, killing as many of these SCVs as he can, very slowly. But Vikings are coming to clean that up. I think Happy's in a really good spot from here, killing a lot of these drones. We'll get a shot of it. Hellions killing all of the drones of YugiOh as they long-distance mine here.
And he's trying to move those spine crawlers over to defend, but some of them get scared and run away. The last one does not get scared, decides he's going to go in, but he does get killed by Blue Flame. The rest of the units of YugiOh are going to try to go for one last counterattack here. If he can succeed in taking down the production buildings, he can slowly defend against his mech army, keep it back home defending, and then he can slowly build up an army of his own.
This is true. Speedlings for YugiOh going everywhere. He's trying to find units, trying to find reinforcements so that he can pick off with those Speedlings, because he can't engage the main army with them.
That is very true. It is hard to engage a mech army straight on. you really need to have the exact unit composition to be able to fight it.
Happy, or rather YugiOh, just literally does not have enough money to make another hatchery. He's trying to long distance mine up to 300. He's at 241. As soon as he does, he'll make a hatchery. But during all of this, Happy has mining. He's got 7 times the income. He's got production. He's making more units.
Yep.
He's ahead 70 supply.
It's looking really, really good for Happy. It's going to be difficult for YugiOh to come in, but he is going to try to pick off these units here and there. That's exactly what he needs to be doing. He's just got to do it a little bit more.
This is looking pretty rough. He's going to lose the hatchery that he's making, the only hatchery he almost had. That's it. He doesn't have enough money for, actually, he just barely has enough money for another hatchery, but where is he going to make it? Everywhere is completely under attack all the time by Happy.
And I think Happy feeling very comfortable. He is going to go in here for the final push. While YugiOh is trying to distract him, Happy does have a planetary fortress and he does have a bunch of turrets, so he is relatively safe at his mining base. The other ones don't really matter, and he is going to move in here for the final push. Just finish it here and now.
Look at those drones. As you can see, they're all stacked up there. If they get caught by Hellions, it's going to be lights out.
Yeah, it's a really nice combination by Happy.
Look, I mean, you guys probably saw a second of these. Look at all that larva. He just can't spend. He just can't make anything.
Yeah, that is actually pretty indicative of what's going on in this game right now.
And, you know, Speedlings, Mutas trying to find their way over here. He's attacking from so many different angles, but the mech army is just so strong. Banelings rolling in, but they do have...
Oh, very nice position on the Banelings, but they only soften up the Thors. They don't kill any, and GGO.
Pretty close game, I have to say.
Yeah, it looked like YugiOh was pretty far ahead after he fought that one mech army that was moving across. He took out a ton of siege tanks. He got the Brood Lords out quickly. But the thing is, he didn't quite have enough Brood Lords to go for the kill. He could only be a little bit of harassing with it. And that time that Happy was given was enough for him to get out the Vikings to be able to counter the Brood Lords.
The Brood Lords came out at a weird timing. I think it was maybe a little too soon.
Yeah.
It was really funky because I thought the Brood Lords kind of earned him that right to hold off the attack, but then on the same note, he made too many Brood Lords and then went to attack the planetary with like all of his Brood Lords and didn't have any support for them, so the Vikings just killed them. 2 Vikings kill like 5 Brood Lords pretty quickly.
It's a good trade for the Terran player.
It's a good trade for the Terran player. You know, YugiOh, I thought he would have a little bit more experience with that since he's played the YugiOh trading card game. But, you know, he didn't trade very cost efficiently. Speaking of trading cost ineffectively, he spent a lot of mutas on those Thors. You remember that one time when he had like 35 to 40 mutas? Then he killed all those tanks, and then for some reason he just decided he wanted to kill the Thors and lost all of his mutas.
It seemed like he was just trying to free up some supply. He was queuing up, I think, about 30 Zerglings at the time. He was trying to make sure that Thors were being built, not tanks. There were almost no tanks on the field, and they would go for some sort of counterattack, but he didn't. And I think that little indecision really cost him the game.
Another thing I'd really like to know is Happy always defended the Speedling counterattacks towards his main. He always had like 4 or 5 Hellions at the top of his ramp behind the depots. I don't know how many times you guys saw shots of that because so many things are going on the map all over the place. Observers trying to keep up with everything. But there would always be like 40 Lings trying to come into his main to hit those production facilities, and always, there were Hellions there to block it. There was always one Thor just in case the mutas came. There were turrets. There was a turret ring around the entire base, not only to stop the Overseers from coming in for the Nidus, but he just had vision of his entire base. All of his production facilities were there. Great job by Happy holding off all of those counterattacks, even with an immobile army.
Yeah, those Hellions are really underestimated. As you were saying, they do a great job of preventing against Zergling counterattacks, but they were also constantly attacking the gold. They would just run in there, take out a few drones, go on suicide missions, but it's the trade that you need to do to keep the Zerg army small. When the Zerg army maxes out and the Zerg can really just bank up a lot of those minerals, he can replenish it so quickly. So you got to keep those numbers low. You got to constantly kill the drones, and then it's just really good for those Hellions.
He did a great job with those Hellions. We're going to jump into our game here on Crevasse.